Doesn't it feel good to be the king? That's right. The San Francisco 49ers welcome back franchise quarterback Brock Purdy and number one wide receiver Ricky Pearsall, and it showed. They walked into Arizona and they just destroyed the Arizona Cardinals in a game in which some fans thought may have been close, and I wouldn't have blamed you for thinking that, but San Francisco totally annihilated the Cardinals, plucked every single feather. Brock Purdy looked like he hadn't missed a step all year long. And that, folks, right there is where you're going to hang your hat on in this game. This game had history-making touchdown catches, Brock Purdy's return, some amazing special teams, some really bad special teams, and a lot of boneheaded mistakes by both teams. The Cardinals and their historically terrible penalties, and of course, some bad plays like Renardo Green getting benched because he goes ahead and gets a penalty himself early in this one out there in the desert. But nonetheless, San Francisco gets the win, 41-22. They climb to 7-4 in the NFC standings and climb back into the number 7 seed after the Detroit Lions lose in Sunday Night Football to the Philadelphia Eagles. So San Francisco clinging to life, clinging to that final wild card spot in the NFC standings after a big win against the NFC West divisional opponent. They climbed, I believe, to 7-1 against the NFC Conference this season and have clinched themselves a winning record in the NFC West in 2025, beating the Rams, the Seahawks, the Cardinals twice. They're going to at least be 4-3 when everything is said and done. So good for San Francisco and good for us, that being the faithful, to witness the return of the king, the return of the franchise quarterback, Brock Purdy. What a freaking game it was. But before we get into Purdy himself, I want to kindly ask you to like, share, subscribe, and leave us that 5-star audio podcast review. And let's dive in to this one, because this thing started off hot from the get-go. This one from the opening kickoff was, we got action. And that starts off with a 98-yard kick return, not touchdown, by Skyy Moore, who has somehow proven his worth to actually being on the active roster, even when guys like Ricky Pearsall returns. Obviously, that might change once Brandon Ayuk comes back, but man, Skyy Moore is making it really hard to dislike him on the active roster, but gets San Francisco off to a really quick start. The offense gets the fire started early. A 98-yard kick return by Skyy Moore. One play later, 16 seconds into the game, and San Francisco is already up 7-0. And that right there, the quick start, the amazing special teams performance by Skyy Moore, great blocking downfield. Had he just gotten 1 more yard, 2 more yards, it wouldn't even have mattered, but that is exactly what you want from your special teams. It's exactly what you want when the opposing team wins the opening kickoff or the coin toss and they defer, and your quarterback's coming off a big toe injury and you don't know how things are going to look in his first game back. You get him the football on the opposing team's 1-yard line. He only has to snap and hand the ball off to his running back, who's a former offensive player of the year, for a 1-yard touchdown run. You get Purdy an early lead. You get him on and off the field in 16 seconds or less. And you kind of ease those nerves, calm those nerves, and say, hey, look, even if the Cardinals respond here, we're in a really good place to keep things going. And that's kind of the first major talking point of this one. How did Brock Purdy look? You have some fans who have been saying, stick with Mac Jones, ride the hot hand, because there was so much uncertainty into how Brock Purdy would look off the turf toe injury. We know it's going to be, a relevant, topic of conversation as the year progresses. We know it's not ever going away until the offseason, and that's still a very slight maybe. Who knows? Things can linger for a long time. But in 2025, Purdy's going to have to battle the toe injury. How would he look in his first performance back since week number 4? That's right. He has missed nearly 7 weeks of play, and now he's back in the fray. And I'll just say this: the box score certainly favors Brock Purdy today. A 73% completion percentage, 200 passing yards, 3 total touchdown passes in this one, and a 133.5 rating per ESPN. That's right. It was a spectacular day from Brock Purdy. There was some bad. We'll get into that in a second. I certainly have my questions going forward. But I think Brock Purdy had maybe the best case scenario outcome for you. I don't know why he was in the game in the fourth quarter at all. You're up by, 3 scores. I don't know why you risked that. In fact, I know Pinheiro got hurt in the game, may have pulled his hamstring, but the fact that Chris McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and Trent Williams were all on the football field with like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter is just don't do that. In fact, on the 2-point conversion, because for whatever reason they wanted to hammer home the point to score 40 in this one, they go for two. Brock's on the football field, and then he gets sacked anyways. Why do you allow these things, Kyle Shanahan? Why do you, of all your genius and smarts, continue to make some of the most boneheaded decisions I've seen? He had a heck of a game as a play caller. The Niners offense put up a season high 41 points. Isn't that funny? Once Brock Purdy comes back, the offense really starts moving the football down the field at will against the Cardinals, who they beat by 1 point earlier in the season. Yeah, a big impact in that was Brock Purdy. But a large reason for that, a large reason for how good the defense was in this game, and they still had their problems, but still, it wasn't a terrible game by the defense overall. A big reason for the offense having so many points was the hot start. San Francisco essentially did what the Rams did to them, just against the Cardinals in this one in week number 11 this past Sunday. I thought Purdy came out hot, firing a lot of quick plays. 6 of his first 7 completions were for 10 plus yards. 2 of them were for 25 plus yards, with one of those being a big 30-yard touchdown pass to George Kittle on a go route, which that was kind of the highlight, the capping off of his start in this one. But 3rd and 8, you run the football for 2 yards and you don't get any yards. Then, okay, here comes a 3rd and 8. How does Purdy look? Big 25-yard pass to Jawan Jennings, who's wide open on a big post route towards the left sideline. Then he gets a 13-yard completion to DeMarcus Robinson, where he kind of shows the pocket presence is still there. He isn't too afraid to move around. The toe looks a little bit okay, albeit somewhat shaky at times. Then he audibles out of a play to get Kittle in man-to-man coverage, because whatever the Cardinals were doing defensively, it tipped Purdy off. And they get a 30-yard in the air impressive go route for a touchdown. And again, going back to his first 6 of 7 completions being for 10 plus yards. The other one that wasn't for 10 plus yards was a 9-yard touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey. Like in the blink of an eye, San Francisco had, 21 points, albeit because they missed PAT, 2 of them actually, it was 19 points. But like in the blink of an eye, Purdy had like 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it was like, oh, he was precise. He was on point for most of his passes. And I think, coming out hot, getting in rhythm early certainly helped them. And I think you have to love that because, I think for a player, you can say you believe in yourself. You can say that you're, the toe's fine, but you want to go out there and show it, improve it, because sometimes you can go out there and you can feel fine, but then something's off. From the get-go, Purdy looked phenomenal, looked really good. He was pushing the ball downfield. He was making plays. I thought the script Shanahan had created for them was, again, nearly perfect. That's how impressed I was by Brock Purdy to at least begin Sunday. Now, I do have some questions. Like many of you out there, I'm pretty sure you would also have these questions. I thought, okay, Purdy's in the pocket, looking good. He has the presence. He's standing tall. He's not making too many mistakes early in the game, albeit that kind of changed in the second quarter. But he looked calm, composed, like Brock Purdy did before 2024. It looks like 2023, 2022, Brock Purdy hitting guys in stride, hitting guys open, towards the sidelines, downfield, over the middle. This looks like vintage Brock Purdy we're seeing in that first couple drives against the Cardinals. Okay, once you've proven you can stay in that pocket and make plays, then where the other questions come to be are, can you scramble? And it's abundantly clear Brock Purdy's toe is going to hinder him from scrambling. There were a couple plays today where he just couldn't evade the same sacks he may have been able to pre-toe injury. There was a few times where Brock was trying to evade some pressure and create a play, and although there were some good plays by the defense to kind of not let him get a lot of space to run, you can just tell there was some either hesitancy or at least the lack of I don't want to say lack of mobility, but there was like the lack of the 10-yard split burst. It seemed like there was like, instead of being at, full speed, he was at like 85%, which it's still better than Mac Jones, better than most, non-mobile quarterbacks in the NFL. But you can tell there was a geared, you were in fourth gear. You're probably in gear 2.5 in this one, which obviously he scored 41 points. It was more than enough to win this game, but it's something I have picked up on, and I'm not sure if it's going to get better or worse as Purdy plays throughout the year. It may not change at all, but you can tell that the scrambling ability just is not there, at least at maximum capacity, which is to be expected, knowing he has a lingering toe problem. But I thought it was pretty clear that the Purdy of 2023-24, where he's running around for 15 seconds trying to find guys open, that it's just not going to be who he is to end the year. But if you can be that precise in the pocket, it's not going to be a problem. That said, despite all the really good things Brock Purdy did today, being aggressive downfield, making plays on target, having really good throws, and that was the predominant takeaway from this game. I think there's a real reason why San Francisco's offense took leaps and bounds in the scoring department and in other departments as well, being efficient and not needing to have the football for 8.5 minutes to score 7 points. Like, they walked into today averaging 22 points a game, and they scored 41. I don't think it's a shocker that Brock Purdy coming back is a major reason for that. However, for all the good Purdy did, there was some glimpses of pre-return in 2024 Brock Purdy again, where first quarter, awesome. You're up to a big lead, 19 points early. Brock's thrown 2 touchdown passes. That second quarter, I think, will be the biggest example, I guess you could say, kind of point for his detractors to kind of glean towards and lean on, saying, well, that second quarter, Brock looked like how he did in week 1 against Seattle, week 4 against the Jaguars, because he did start to get a little reckless in that second quarter, where they're up 24-10, and I don't know what it was. Brock, you can tell, wanted to play his game, wanted to play like he did pre-toe injury with the mobility, and wanted to get out in space and make guys miss and evade some pressure. He can't do that at a 100% capacity right now. And when you can't do that, and you can't quickly turn and point and just get on your back leg and throw, or you don't have the arm strength for whatever reason that may be, whether it is because of your arm isn't strong enough or because of the angle you're running in and the angle you're trying to throw, it's not going to work out well. There was a plenty of throws in that second quarter where you just kind of praying, you're pleading for Brock, throw the ball away. There was a point in time in this game, they're winning 25-10. Okay, you're up 15 points. Okay, he almost cost his team 3 points. It's 3rd and 3. He's running to his left. He sees Demarcus Robinson open because the defender falls down. He sees him late and still tries to force that throw while he's evading pressure. That ball pretty much is right to the defender, and Robinson kind of breaks it up somewhat, coming back to the ball. You can maybe say you want Robinson to come back a little more aggressively, but Nevertheless, like, you can't make that throw if you're Brock. If you see a window late, the odds are that window is now closed. And Brock's usually pretty good at that stuff, seeing windows on time, or at least deciding when to throw it or throw it away, but or at least scramble. And if you don't have the ability to scramble because there's three Cardinals defenders bearing in on you, and because you have a toe injury, you don't want to take unnecessary hits. Just throw the ball out of bounds. You're on the run. You're out of the tackle box. There's no reason to force a play. And it's 3rd and 3. You're in field goal range. Live to fight another down. And San Francisco did that. And he almost threw a pick, and it was like, oh, don't give the detractors any reason to continue to dislike you. There's so many fans on social media today saying, oh, Brock Purdy's back, whatever, stick with Mac Jones. And I'm like, no. Like, Purdy is really good. Like, we have forgotten how good Brock Purdy is. And it's like you come out to the big hot start, and maybe you have some guys who are like, oh, whatever, you're playing the Cardinals. And the second quarter happens where it wasn't just one time. It wasn't just that 3rd and 3. There was a later throw where it was 3rd and 5. And the safety was kind of caught in between Kittle and Pearsall. And the safety, I think it was Jalen Thompson for the Cardinals, fakes going to guard Kittle underneath, which baits Purdy into a throw over his head in a layered throw between the defenders. And Thompson just kind of cuts back and kind of jumps up and really should have picked it off, and it didn't happen. And so, Purdy got away with a couple of throws in this one. He got baited one time and kind of threw into traffic in the other one. And that is a big problem. Now, it isn't a problem because the Cardinals dropped those INTs, but that is a trait he's kind of picked up on in the last year or so in 2024, because he had to be a superhero. And certainly this season against Seattle and against Jacksonville, it's like, hey, like, you're looking like a freaking dime piece. You are like looking like, the girl everybody wants in that first quarter. In the second quarter, it's like, yeah, take it or leave it. Like, and you don't want to have your quarterback throwing picks. And, not to say the Cardinals are a good team, because they're not, but if you want to go to the playoffs, which San Francisco, I think, does, and they certainly can, I think will, when the season's all said and done, but games against the Colts, games against the Bears in Week 17, which that game might decide a wild card seeding. Week 18 against the Seahawks, which that game too may decide a wild card seeding, or if you're lucky, a division win or loss by the end of the season. Like, you can't make mistakes like that. Like, the Bears and the Seahawks will make you pay. Like, those defenses want to get takeaways. I think the Bears, albeit aren't now, they were at like week 6, 7, like leading the NFL in takeaways. They are a team that will make you pay. And if you're Brock, I know it's your first game back. I'll be lenient on you. It's okay. Like, I'm not mad. We shouldn't be, overcritical of Brock Purdy in his first game back off of a toe injury. Like, he should be able to ease himself back in. It's why you brought him back against the Cardinals, not against the Rams last Sunday, although I don't think he could play last Sunday, although Shanahan said he could, but whatever. Like, you just can't find yourself going through those periods of, I'm going to have a great first quarter, get a big lead, that I'm going to give the ball away twice in the second quarter. You want to find ways to avoid that. I want Brock to be aggressive, and I think there was a really good example of him kind of calming down and learning from that. And I don't know if it's maybe having a lead like 25-10, having a 2-score lead essentially, that might make Brock more aggressive downfield, knowing he has a longer leash to deal with, because later in the game, in the third quarter, after a relatively bad second quarter from Purdy, there's a drive in the red zone where you're thinking, okay, if San Francisco doesn't score here, the game is still, albeit not close, but it's still in reach for the Arizona. He is first down, hikes the ball, no one's open, looking around, runs a little bit, throws it away. Okay, it's 2nd and 5, 2nd and goal. Hikes the ball, running around, no one's open. This throws it in the back of the end zone. Purdy throwing the ball away, knowing, hey, a big score here changes this outcome for us. And, the very next play, 3rd and goal, what's he do? He finds George Kittle in the corner of the end zone for Kittle's second touchdown of the evening. And so it's like, You can look at that second quarter and say, "Oh man, Purdy was bad. He almost threw interceptions," and you can point to Mac Jones not doing that very often or whatnot. Then it's like, okay, if you want to point to that, I'll give it to you. But let's not forget Purdy making the right play, making the smart play in the red zone a quarter later, where he could force throws. We've seen Purdy force throws in the red zone, force throws even in second quarter of this game, make mistakes. Go back to the Seahawks game week 1. That Jake Tungus touchdown to win that game was a forced throw in the back of the end zone that really should have been picked off. In this one against the Cardinals, being smart, playing it safe, knowing you have 4 downs to work with in the red zone, knowing you want to have and take all 4 of those shots to get a touchdown. I like that Purdy kind of, I don't want to say grew up or grew, but there was maybe some in-game kind of growth, if you will, if that's how you want to word it, from the quarterback of like, oh, okay, like, we really got to score here. I'm not going to force a throw if we don't have to. And that's what you want to see. When it's someone's first game back, you're going to see mistakes. You're going to see, like, everybody, including myself, predicted Purdy's probably going to throw one pick. It's his first game back. Some throws might sell high, but really, I didn't see a problem with Purdy's toe in his throws whatsoever. He looked pretty accurate the entire day, albeit besides those 2 mistakes in the second quarter. But like, even those were like, I'm baited. It wasn't like the throw was offline. It was right to where the receiver was, but a defender was in front of him. So I didn't think Purdy's toe affected his throws at all. I didn't think Purdy was egregious. Yes, there was some things you want to clean up, but there was some growth in the game, and there was examples of like, hey, like he's learning, or at least maybe he's playing things more safe and more aggressive with depending on the lead he has at certain times in the game. I also love the just before halftime drive by San Francisco, right? They get the ball with like 30-ish seconds left. They have 2 timeouts, I believe, and they get the ball at like the 30, the 40-yard line. It was like around midfield, but they didn't have much time to move the football. And we've seen Shanahan just pack it in, maybe do like a running back draw play, and if that doesn't work, then he kind of packs it in and goes, whatever. That was my expectation. RB draw here, and if it works and gets you 20 yards, 10 yards, then you call a timeout and you run around, you run a passing play and go from there. But no, with about 30 seconds left, Shanahan drop backs with Purdy. He gets 2 big completions and sets up what would have been a 62-yard field goal by Pinheiro. Then Calais Campbell has an unnecessary roughness call on him for touching the snapper, and then leads to a field goal that was 47 yards in this one. But just how great was it to see Brock Purdy back? The offense looked smoother. It looked more efficient. Again, there was some hiccups, but like overall, like it just felt like the San Francisco 49ers. It felt like we were watching a team that was capable of actually going toe-to-toe with other offenses, where some of my friends, Aaron from 49ers First Takes, we had the Cover 3 podcast exclusive on YouTube on Fridays before games on Sunday. And I was talking to him, and he was saying like, the defense is really bad, and I just can't buy it. The offense has to score 35 points a game. And I was sitting there like, yeah, man, but like, you don't think this offense can't score 30 points or 28 points a game? Like, yeah, the defense has their problems. The pass rush wasn't great today, and we'll get more into that later. But like, I watched this team, and it's the Cardinals. I understand that, but it's like the Cardinals beat this team by 1 point early, or lost to the Niners by 1 point earlier because of a game-winning field goal. Like, yeah, they're banged up. I get it. They don't have some cornerbacks. They didn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. and Zay Jones, and their backup quarterback was playing. But it's like, yeah, but Jacoby Brissett beat the Cowboys, almost had the Packers on the ropes, which they don't look great right now. And I think the Packers might not be as good as we think they are, or might be fighting for a playoff spot that is a wild card spot when it's all said and done, if they even get it at all. That's how kind of low I am on them at this point in time. But like, I look at this team and I'm like, the Cardinals with Brissett almost beat the Colts, almost beat the Packers. Besides the game against Seattle last Sunday, they've been playing better football. And I'm like, I don't think we should undersell this game, but on top of that, I don't think we should be underselling how good the offense looked. I know it's your opponent, not the greatest one, but it's probably the best defense you're going to play between now and the Panthers. And the Browns are a really good defense, and we'll see how they look in a couple weeks or so. Maybe Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback. Dylan Gabriel got hurt in this week, so maybe you're playing Shedeur in a couple weeks' time, but still, like, you're playing a Cardinals team that knows you well and held you to 15 points early in the year with Christian McCaffrey, with the healthy Ricky Pearsall. And you kind of got, lucky towards the end of that game because Zay Jones dropped the play over the middle and Stout got the big PBU on the third down. So it's like, just kind of saying, like, I don't think we should undersell this. But on top of that, like, I feel really confident that this offense can do some damage. Like, when I see the schedule, I'm like, okay, you can crush the Panthers, you can beat the Browns, you can crush the Titans. Yeah, the Colts can be tough, but I'm like, this offense can go toe-to-toe with the Colts. This offense can go toe-to-toe with the Bears and the Seahawks. And I don't know if they're going to win those games, but I'm like, hey, like, now we have a fighting chance against anybody. You're not going to go out and beat Philadelphia, most likely. You're not going to go out there and beat Detroit or beat the Rams. But now that you have your franchise quarterback in place and you're putting up 41 points and the offense looks more fluid, the running game was working again, which was great to see, which was kind of an unknown coming into this one against Arizona. Like, this made me take a step back and go, I don't know how far they can go. But this reaffirms my belief that 10-7 is 1,000% in reach. And a wild card spot is probably in San Francisco's future by the end of the year. And, that, like, I walked away feeling so much confidence in this team, which you didn't really know. There was so much uneasiness, so much disarray, the injuries, how are they going to survive? How does Purdy look? What if he stinks? And I'm like, oh, Purdy was ho-hum, throwing that rock around like he hadn't missed a day. It was like his backyard football for him. And it wasn't running around. Mobility was, limited. But Purdy looked really good, and I think this offense is, like, ready to take that next step. The offensive line looked way better. I think Purdy was pressured only like 25% of his passes in this game. That's like the lowest it's been in a long time. I think it's his lowest since like last year or 2 years ago. It's also the third game of the last four that San Francisco's offensive line has actually performed up to par, being a functional, good pass protecting offensive line. And that includes because of Burford and Barcher back. And even Brendel wasn't terrible in this one. He wasn't great, but still. And there were some hiccups too, but like Trent's playing better now. Burford looks good. Barch looks good. Like, they're still making mistakes, and we'll get to one of them in a minute. But like, I feel really confident now because the way Brock, like, a lot of my questions, although are still there, they're certainly kind of pushing the corner of like, you can just go away for a week. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. Bring on the Panthers. This offense against that Panthers defense, oh my God. Talking about Swiss cheese, grated cheese. I want to shred some of that Panther fur. And I'm like, bring them on, brother. Like, that's what I want. And San Francisco's offense really kind of put to bed a lot of the quarterback controversy stuff, but also just kind of tabled the worry. Like, if you are sitting back in your chair of like, oh man, like, Brock Purdy played good, or I just don't know, and you're Mac Jones, like, shut up. Shut up. Like, this was a great game for Brock Purdy to return. It was a great game to watch. And this offense looked like how it's supposed to. Everyone's healthy besides Brandon Ayuk. And they didn't get anything from Ricky Pearsall today. He had one catch for 0 yards. This felt more like a go out there and run some routes and test your knee and kind of, get your cardio back up, and then we'll hit you back against Carolina next Monday. That's what this game was like for the 49ers and Ricky Pearsall. He was a non-factor the entire game. And people were saying, well, Brock, now he has his, like, they say Pearsall for his return. Now he has his number one wide receiver. I mean, really? Did he? He had one catch for 0 yards and like a third down catch. like Pearsall was a non-factor. He did the exact same thing, or he did more with the offense that had George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson and Juwan Jennings and Kendrick Bourne and Demarcus Robinson. And did you notice that we saw a lot more Demarcus Robinson today and less Kendrick Bourne? That feels like a trend, knowing that Brock Purdy, he's going to push the ball downfield more and more and more. And if you don't believe me, Brock Purdy today against the Cardinals was 2 for 4 for 55 yards and a touchdown. So 2 for 4, 55 yards and 1 touchdown on balls traveling 20 plus yards through the air. In 3 games this season, week 1 against Seattle, week 4 against Jacksonville, and today against the Cardinals, he is 8 for 12 for 226 yards on such throws. Meanwhile, Mac Jones did a great job as a backup. Thank God he was here, but he did not push the ball down the field whatsoever. People didn't want to hear that. It was a condensed offense. Greg Cosell got so much crap for saying that, but it's true. Mac Jones was 4 for 16 for 122 yards on such throws. The deep ball is a much more prominent part of Brock Purdy's game. It's no knock on Mac Jones. The offense was hindered. It was a backup quarterback utilizing the Jimmy G playbook, and you can say, well, he didn't have Pearsall. Neither did Brock Purdy really today, and he hit 2 of those throws. And it's no knock on Mac. It's just to say, like, Purdy brings something more. And it isn't just mobility, because he's pretty much not immobile, but there isn't much mobility there because of a toe injury. There's a little bit of a little bit of agility. There's no Brock Purdy scrambling for 6 to 8 yards and 20 yards like it was pre-toe injury, at least right now in this game. Like, Purdy does bring more than just mobility, more than Mac Jones does. It's the vision, it's the touch to throws. Jones, stronger arm. Purdy just finds a way to get the ball downfield. He wants to make those plays, whereas Jones just does whatever Kyle tells him to do, which that'll work. Kyle's an awesome play caller. Purdy's like, hey, let's be aggressive here. Let's have some fun. And you're seeing it on display. And it's great to see. It makes me more confident in the team going forward. And it makes me be like, bring on the Seahawks. Bring on the Panthers. It makes me almost overconfident. And maybe I am. It's one game and they have a lot of games to go. And hopefully they can continue the pace they're on. But still, this was a big win for San Francisco. More of a prove-it win of like, hey, Purdy still looks great. Christian McCaffrey still looks good. George Kittle and Christian and Brock Purdy are just going to be, and have always been, one of the best quarterback tight end tandems in football. They now have, I believe, if I can bring up the stat for 1 second, George Kittle and Brock Purdy, after connecting for 2 touchdowns in this game, now have 23 touchdowns throughout their careers from 2022 to now. 23 total touchdowns. They surpassed Steve Young and Brett Jones, who had 22 when they played together, and they are only 7 away from tying Alex Smith and Vernon Davis for the most touchdowns by a quarterback and tight end duo in Niners history. When I have told you, they are the second best behind Mahomes and Kelsey. Quarterback and tight end tandem in football, this is what I mean. When they're on the field together, it's really, really dangerous. And Kittle was just awesome, right? He had his 50th touchdown catch today. 6 receptions, 64 or 67 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a Hall of Famer. He gets the job done. He's now 3rd all-time in receptions. He's 3rd all-time in receiving yards. And he's 5th all-time in receiving touchdowns with the 49ers. He's also the 3rd player in Niner history to have 500 plus catches and 50 plus receiving yards. The other 2, Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice. Kittle's awesome. I've been trying to tell you guys, they are the best quarterback tandem and tight end tandem in the NFC and the second best in football. And I'm happy because on display today. When you have All-Pro Hall of Fame George Kittle and you have Brock Purdy playing his best football, really, really dangerous. We saw it in the first drive in week 1, and we haven't seen it since. It's funny that this is so crazy. I am connecting dots on the fly. The first drive of the game of the year for San Francisco, George Kittle, Brock Purdy touchdown. The first passing attempt drive that Purdy had, because the first drive was a CMC rushing touchdown. The first drive Purdy actually threw a pass ended in a George Kittle 30-yard touchdown pass. When these two guys are on the field this season, 2 games, 3 touchdown passes. These dudes are just lightning in a bottle, but it has persisted for 3 or 4 years now since 2022. Like, they're going to pass Smith, they're going to pass Vernon Davis, and they're going to end up as the best quarterback and tight end tandem in franchise history. I am so, I wouldn't be shocked if Kittle doesn't have 5 more touchdown receptions by the end of the year. Like, that's how good those two guys are together. And it showed today. Kittle just getting open, using his body, and just beating guys 1v1. And this performance, albeit score-wise, maybe isn't, but efficiency-wise is 1000% translatable into next Monday against the Panthers, into in 2 Sundays from now against the Browns, and a month from now against the Titans. They can do this the next 3-4 weeks or so and be 10-4 by the end of week 15, I believe. They're right there. Don't fret, folks. They're on the come up now at maybe the most pivotal time in the season. And I think, talking about Brock Purdy and George Kittle and what Purdy brings to the offense, Kittle said in his post-game press conference of I just love having Purdy in the huddle. He brings something different. But on top of that, they asked Kyle Shanahan what he made of Brock Purdy's performance. And he said this, and I quote, "You've just got to look at his numbers and stuff, ... and not many people have done it better than him. He's as efficient as anyone. He's made as many big plays as anyone, and he's led us to a lot of wins." The Niners don't just win games with Brock Purdy. They usually outpace their opponents. They usually outgain their opponents. They usually outscore their opponents. They usually yardage their opponents. They usually outdo their opponents in nearly every facet of the game. You don't go to back-to-back NFC championship games just because you have the Avengers. And you're seeing it this year. It's a 1-game sample size, so we'll see how things go. But this team went from barely being able to average 20 points a game to 41 points the minute Brock Purdy steps back on the football field. Now, a lot of that today was helped by special teams. So many good punt returns, kick returns. Skyy Moore, get your flowers. Brian Robinson, who was acquired to be the backup running back, has somehow become one of the more efficient kick returners in football this year. You get your flowers as well. The Niners basically had, from midfield and on, they were rarely ever starting drives on their own 30. They were near the 40-yard line, 45-yard line almost every single offensive drive to begin with. That's a great thing. Will that continue? Probably not. I hope it does, but the odds would say probably not. However, the fact that San Francisco now has the offense to actually take advantage of that, and you go to the box score, the Niners did not have the TOP, time of possession advantage, in this game. You go to the box score here in front of me, and the Niners in this one, I feel held the ball for 10 minutes. And that's not true, obviously, but it was nothing. This Sunday against the Cardinals, San Francisco, if it'll load, San Francisco held the football for 25 minutes. The Cardinals had it for 34 minutes and 15 seconds. 9 more minutes than San Francisco. The Cardinals outgained San Francisco by 207 yards, but San Francisco still won. They played clean football. They didn't turn the football over. They didn't get penalized. Penalties were atrocious in this game for the Cardinals. They had a 60-yard touchdown run called back because they couldn't get out of their own way. There was holdings, illegal hands to the face, illegal formations. It was every single play. Trey McBride caught like a 25-yard reception and then gets called for taunting, essentially, and then gets the ball moved back 15 yards. The Cardinals in this game had 17 penalties for 130 yards. Meanwhile, San Francisco had one penalty for 15 yards. Now, that one penalty for San Francisco was idiotic, but still. When you're giving your opponent 17 penalties and 133 yards, like really, San Francisco says they gained 281 yards on ESPN. The reality is they gained 410 yards because of how many yards the Cardinals gave to them today in this one. And you can bicker back and forth as to how much does that impact the outcome? A lot, because if you're going to play undisciplined, you want your team to take advantage of that. And people are using that to knock down the Cardinals and kind of diminish the win by San Francisco. And I get it, right? I would do it if the Lions won that way. Like the way Philadelphia won, because the Lions went forward on like every single fourth down when it's like, hey, dude, it's 4th and goal on the opposing team's 1-yard line. Kick the field goal. That happened like 5 times tonight. Had they done that, they probably would have won that game. And San Francisco would be out of the playoffs if things ended today because of it. However, I'd point to that and say, Philadelphia played really good football. The defense was there, but the Lions offense really crapped the bed. Dan Campbell screwed them over. Whereas in this one, you can say, well, the Cardinals gave San Francisco the ball, 133 yards, and all that's true. All that's true. But I would rather be able to take advantage of my opposing team's mistakes, especially on offense, which San Francisco can now do because of Brock Purdy and Pearsall being back, albeit more Brock Purdy. Like, they couldn't do that before. If an opposing team gave San Francisco a first down 2 weeks ago, the odds are the drive may still stall or it's a field goal. Now, if you give San Francisco a free first down, it's okay. Now we're cooking. We have 4 more downs, 4 more plays to go, and we're going to score a touchdown. Like that mindset changes, that kind of, the switch flips of like, oh, we're playing for a field goal. Now, hey, no, we're going for a touchdown. And that kind of comes back into play with the halftime stuff. With Purdy with 30 seconds left, let's go down, score a field goal fast, and get some more points on the board, and let's kind of not double up on them, but let's kind of maximize our time here. And it worked. Christian McCaffrey, like we haven't even got to the defense yet because we've been glazing Brock Purdy for 43 minutes. But my God, Christian McCaffrey, 13 carries, 81 yards, 5 receptions for 40 yards, 3 touchdowns today. Finally got his first 20-plus yard run of the season in this one. Hit a couple of big runs. Luke Farrell had an amazing block to spring him open. So did Spencer Burford. Really, he should have had 4 touchdowns because in this exact game, there's a screen pass to CMC, and it's like Brendel, Pooney, and Barch. They're like in front of the offensive line because they let the Cardinals defense into the pocket. Purdy flips it over to Christian McCaffrey. He's got one guy to beat on the left side of the field, and it's going to be a touchdown. He can't get him, but Brendel, Pooney, and Barch, and mainly Barch here, is just kind of like standing there, then is like, oh, I have to guard somebody. It's like, dude, if you can guard the linebacker, we're talking, 48 points in this one. And Christian McCaffrey has 4 touchdowns. And McCaffrey was mad, couldn't make a guy miss. And, is that because CMC's lost a step? I don't know. It was a good tackle. This, that, and the other. Sometimes things don't break your way. But if Barch could get out there and get a block, CMC could have 4 touchdowns. He had a really nice comebacker today where he ran out for 20 yards, turned around and jumped 2-3 feet in the air and caught the football. I was like, oh my God. He's an athlete. He's dynamic. And, we haven't seen this offense really at full cylinders yet. And you see Kittle and you see McCaffrey having these games and going off. And even Brian Robinson, I loved his usage today. 8 carries, 24 yards. Probably should have had 12 carries because Christian McCaffrey should not have been in the game for his last drive he scored a touchdown on. But I digress. Thank God everyone was healthy, at least on offense in this one. But things are coming together. Things are really coming together offensively. And then if you're down and you're poo-pooing this and you weren't bought in yet, like the ceiling, it's there. But like, man, it's really hard to walk away and think like they don't have a chance against anybody. At least again on offense, defense has their holes, but maybe I'm being a homer, maybe I'm being overconfident, and maybe I'm kind of too ahead of myself. But when you see the Niners are finally capable of scoring 41 points a game and putting up 35 relatively easily, it gets me. It gets me going. It gets the juices kind of like, oh, it's like Michael Myers in Halloween Ends, where he's like, kind of like starting to like pulsate in the cave, and you're like, what is happening here? I don't like any of this, but in this case, I'm like, yes, I want to do more of this. Let's have some fun in the second half of the season, which I think a lot of fun's ahead of us and the rest of the faithful if they can do this the rest of the season. That said, I want to get into the defense, but first I want to remind you, if you want to see this team, a 41-point offensive performance, you want to see Brock Purdy play live at home Monday night, Carolina Panthers, or you want to see him around the holidays against Tennessee at home, or maybe you're thinking, get me Week 18 rivalry jersey game against the Seattle Seahawks tickets, go to SeatGeek.com. Find your tickets. Green means good. Red means avoid at all costs. Don't get that deal. Get yourself a green deal, um, and save yourself $20 off your first purchase by using promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com, and save yourself again $20 off your first purchase. Okay. Let's get into the defense, and I want to say, how good was that to see Robert Saleh smiling on the sideline? This defense getting 3 takeaways in this one. Where did that come from? They were playing bend, don't break almost the whole day. They got 2 interceptions. Lenoir had a INT and an amazing return. And I think it was second half or at least third quarter in this one. He got burnt the play before by Michael Wilson, who was a big problem in this game for San Francisco secondary. Then he bounced back, gets the INT, almost didn't play this game because of a calf injury. He didn't practice the whole week. He joked in the post-game press conference of like, that was much, I ain't ran that much in a week and a half. Like, man, I don't do that very often. And so it was fun to see Mustapha buried in this game and Purdy's return and Pearsall's return and how good the offense looked. Don't forget, Mustapha injured his ACL in the season finale last year in Arizona. This was his return to Arizona since the injury, gets a big INT and lays out Renardo Green in the process, but still, big INT in San Francisco's, I think their second INT of the season, I believe, which is just insane to think about. Upton Stout also forced to fumble at the goal line, which kind of goes back into the playing bend, don't break all game. San Francisco made some mistakes, shot themselves in the foot a couple times, left some guys open. They didn't play pristine defense by any means. I thought it was good because when you get 3 takeaways, how can you not say it was good? If teams are willing to make mistakes, you have to be able to capitalize on them, and San Francisco did. I can't fault them for that. That's good stuff. Now, the odds and history would say that's not going to continue for them, but when it does happen, you want to applaud that, and you see Robert Saleh on the sideline smiling, pumping his fist, having a good time. That's fun to see. And I think, even when San Francisco made critical mistakes, they still found a way to stop the Cardinals offense from scoring. The Cardinals were 3-5 in the red zone today, which is pretty nice. What is it, like 66%? But on top of that, like, they did stop the Cardinals a ton. They forced a missed field goal after Greg Dortch had like a 45-yard punt return, and they were in San Francisco territory on first down. The Niners defense forced a missed field goal on the play. Like, that's great to see from a young defense like the 49ers. They even later in the game, or sometime I think in the second quarter, maybe early third quarter if I'm forgetting, but Renardo Green gets called for an unnecessary roughness call, and it gives the Cardinals 15 for yards, and the Cardinals are marching downfield. McBride catches a pass and gets called for a penalty of his own, but like they're about to score. Like the game's close still. It's early. Like this game, we don't really know what it's going to be like. Is it going to be an offensive shootout? Going to be a defensive game? We don't really know how the game is going to be played out. And what does San Francisco do? They hold the Cardinals to a field goal in the red zone and stop them. And it's like, okay, like you can afford to make those mistakes against a team like the Cardinals, who don't have the best offense, who are have some guys out due to injury. No James Conner, no Trey Benson, no Murray, no Harrison Jr. and Zay Jones. But like, so you can afford to make some of those mistakes. But you like to see, hey, if we make those mistakes, we can recover. Whereas younger defenses can always recover. And I think despite the mistakes they made, which you want to clean up, all of them felt coachable. The last thing you want from a defense that's young, especially, is for your mistakes to not be coachable. You don't want to have a clear talent deficit on defense. And unfortunately, when you lose guys like Tatum Bethune for who knows how long, you lost some other guys in this game that did come back, and Beal Jr. is in concussion protocol. I don't know if he returned or not, but he was during the game. Luke Gifford got hurt for a small bit of time, but then he came back in. It's like, okay, Curtis Robinson got hurt for a second, so like there's been some scares. The roster is super thin on defense, but when they do make mistakes, good to see them kind of battling back and being able to kind of recover from them, which isn't going to happen against the Rams or against the Lions or Philadelphia, but good to see them kind of pushing through. Perseverance is key, if you will. That said, the defensive line, I thought, really, really good game on the ground. The biggest play on the ground for the Cardinals in this one, I believe, would have been a 60-yard touchdown run by Bam Knight. That was called back, but their longest run was for 7 yards, and that was a Bam Knight 7-yard run. Altogether, they allowed 36 rushing yards on the day, had it not been for a negative 2-yard gain by Brissett. 38 yards on the ground against the Cardinals, which, it's not a great running back room. We know that. Bam Knight, Dean Mercado, Carter, like it's not a great room by any means, but like the fact is Alfred Collins comes back. They finally pulled their head out of their butt and played CJ West over Kevin Givens today. Love to see that. I think that was a big reason for why the run defense was so much better, having space eaters, young guys that got fresh legs out there making plays. That's going to be an important factor for San Francisco. Can you find guys that have some fresh legs and can give you some oomph, some push as the year continues? And I think, Weston and Collins have, especially Collins, have grown a lot really quickly. Collins looks phenomenal, especially as a run defender. And when you bounce back from how bad you were against the Rams, who seemingly had every gap to run through, I think Collins returning is a big reason for their improved run defense, and being able to make Brissett throw 57 times. There's been so much made of that, right? Of, Brissett threw 57 times and had 452 yards and got outgained. And I'm like, I get that, but the Niners defense made him have to throw. San Francisco's offense, yes, put them behind, but the Niners made Brissett throw because they stopped the run so often in this one. They guys had 12 carries from running backs in this game. They couldn't run. Now, they had to play catch up, certainly. But the fact is, even when they tried to run, they really couldn't. I thought linebackers were flying around. Bethune, before he got hurt, was flying around making plays. Curtis Robinson, same thing. D. Winters, same thing. Again, there was mistakes in the flat. Brissett was just eating San Francisco's defense early in the flat. They cleaned those things up as the game went on, and the Cardinals just didn't have the offensive personnel to push the ball downfield consistently, unless it was Michael Wilson, who caught 15 passes for 185 yards. My God. And McBride, 10 catches, 115 yards, and 1 touchdown. Oh, my goodness. But when you throw 57 times, you're probably going to hit on 47 of your completions. But I thought, like, the Niners defense, maybe it's my expectation of, like, I'm expecting a rather, you know, I don't know. I don't I don't wanna say Swiss cheese, it's just more of like they got holes, a lot of them. And so, like, when something bad happens, I'm just like, I mean, yeah, how do you respond? And they responded really well. Finally got to see Nick Martin today. San Francisco completely erased, one away from playing Luke Gifford on base downs. They heard you screaming from the heavens. Why is Gifford playing on base downs against the Rams? I think that was San Francisco's attempt to match their 13 personnel. It did not work at all. But Nicholas Martin finally got some reps in this one. He didn't do too much. He was the recipient of the holding call on the Bam Knight negated 60-yard touchdown run. He also got some garbage time tackles, I believe, which is nice to see. Again, talking about fresh legs, different looks, guys that can bring energy. Sometimes it does pay to have guys not play all year, because when they do play, they're just freaking cut loose. They're live wire running around like like freaking Tasmanian devil, like they just want to hit somebody. And when you have guys like Nicholas Martin who already play like that, and they haven't played all year, now he's getting reps. You're flying around today, which is really fun to see. It wasn't often, wasn't many snaps involved early, but good to see. I think it's something San Francisco needs to do. And in fact, I do think San Francisco really needs to stop playing Jason Pinnock. Jason Pinnock might be a good tackler, or at least an average tackler. That dude, I'm sure he's a great person. I'm not coming at him as a person. That dude sucks in coverage. Sucks. And if you're going to play a big nickel back with Pinnock, I'm sure that was to kind of pair him up with Trey McBride to help alleviate the pressure of or on Bethune and Winters to guard him in this one, which didn't work for obvious reasons, being 10 receptions for 115 yards and 1 touchdown, but he was not good. Jason Pinnock got burned a handful of times in this game. There's a 1st and 18 play where Robinson, after Bethune got hurt, he's in the middle of the field. McBride's running across the middle of the field. Robinson points and passes him off to Pinnock, I believe it was. And Pinnock just doesn't even look, doesn't go over there. He's amongst 3 other Niner guys, or is one of 3 Niner defenders guarding the exact same player. McBride just running free for 14 yards, which, that didn't go for a first down, but still, it's 1st and 18. You want to hold guys and make it 2nd and long. Pinnock gave him a free 14 yards. Also a play later in the game, I think it was one of their garbage time touchdowns. I don't know if it was to Dortch or McBride. I think it was to Dortch. He just didn't cover the guy. I don't know if it was his responsibility or if it was Siegel's responsibility or somebody else's, but I think Pinnock was a safety. They both passed the guy off to someone behind them. Pinnock was like, no one's behind me. The guy was like, I thought you were behind me. He's like, no one's behind me. And you blew coverage. And it's like, communication still's a problem. That's got to get fixed. That's coachable. It's one of those things that is coachable, but communication is a big problem for San Francisco's defense. Still is. But it's, again, how are you able to overcome? I thought Lenoir had a big bounce back game in this one. It wasn't too bad from the coverage standpoint. The tackling was much improved by him, which was pretty bad against the Rams. He deserved more flack from me in that game. However, big game from him. I want to praise him for it. I thought Upton Stout played pretty well. The biggest play of the day, I believe, for the Cardinals was a 34-yard reception to Michael Wilson on 3rd and 3 with Stout in coverage. That coverage by Stout, as he's falling down, nearly gets the PBU. His hand's on the ball, and somehow Wilson brings it down. It's good coverage. Like, I can't fault Stout for falling down, still getting his hands on the ball, and then Wilson getting the catch. So I thought Stout was pretty good today. And maybe film will tell us more when we can kind of get the all-22 and look at things. But I was impressed by Stout today. I thought Mustapha, although on one of the touchdown runs by Bam Knight early in this one, he did not set the edge well. It led to a touchdown. You got to be able to force guys back inside. He didn't do that. I did think he was running around. They call him the missile for a reason, right? He was being the missile today. Got a big INT, made some big tackles. But we got to talk about Renardo Green because I really like Renardo Green. I like that he has an edge to him. I like that he's not afraid to talk. Big physical cornerback. He wants to get his hands dirty. However, he has not enjoyed the sophomore leap we expected. Had a really nice rookie season last year, but has not been great in 2025. There's been some nice moments, some flashes, but as a whole picture, an overall description, I would say it's a rather sophomore slump, if you will, for the FSU product. That said, there was a 3rd and 9 reception to Greg Dortch. Screen pass right to him, blah, blah, blah. After the play, which San Francisco had stopped him, it wasn't a first down. It was going to be a punt by the Cardinals, I believe. And after the play, Renardo Green gets called for an unnecessary roughness penalty. It gave the Cardinals a free first down. They went on to score a field goal, I believe. It's small stuff like that. And that was San Francisco's only penalty on the day. Nearly a clean slate from San Francisco on penalties. This was the one. And I think the Niners, and you love to see it because sometimes the way Shanahan and Saleh coach, you don't always see the accountability. You don't see guys being benched. There have been some of that. There's been the younger guys being inactive on Sundays. You've seen Siegel start over Brown, but you rarely ever see yelling and screaming and cursing. And I think San Francisco realizes, like, hey, this is our window if we want to make the playoffs. Don't F it up. Don't screw it up. And you making dumb penalties like this is going to screw it up. It's going to F it up. And we can't afford to do that. We have to play, not perfect, but avoid really dumb mistakes. If we can play clean football, we are going to be in games. And you can't have Green, mucking things up like that. And on 3rd and 9, on a play that resulted in what would have been a punt by San Francisco or a subsequent punt by the Cardinals to San Francisco, Green gets called for the penalty, gives the Cardinals a free 15 yards, and Shanahan practically yanks him off the field himself, yells at him, screams at him. There's a couple F words involved in there, and you're like, oh my God, did we just see the end of Renardo Green's day? Saul is out there yelling at him. Like he got benched for a short period of time. And you don't want young guys to struggle that bad. You don't want young guys to make mistakes like that because it clearly is a problem. But I loved seeing that okay, like we have to realize the clock is ticking on the season. We are in a very, very crowded wild card race in the NFC. It's the Bears. It's the Packers. It's the Lions. It's the Seahawks. It's the Panthers. The Vikings are involved in there too. I'm probably forgetting somebody else. Like, we can't afford to let dumb things like this cost us, winnable games, which San Francisco won. They won by 19 points. That's a big margin of victory. But when you play games against the Panthers, who are somehow feisty, I don't get that. They're really bad, but still feisty. Beatable, but feisty. The Titans played good against the Texans this week. The Browns have a really good defense, albeit the offense is terrible. But maybe they pick things up. I don't know. You have games against the Colts. That game against the Bears will be probably a wild card determining game. Seattle week 18, like, you can't afford to make mistakes like that. And Luter didn't cost him. He came in, did his job, went back to the bench, and Green came back out and everything. But I like the accountability from Kyle and Robert Saleh of, like, we got him. Like, we're going to boat race these punks, and they did. But, like, you got in the way of that. And The worst thing you can do for any team, like the Cardinals today, is give the opponent 13 penalties or 17 penalties for 150 yards, whatever it was, 130 yards. You can't get in the way like that. And for that to be the one blemish on San Francisco, the penalties, I think it's a good indicator of we're not dealing with the nonsense, especially from young guys. And I love seeing that. I love seeing the head coach and DC being like, no, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. But that was kind of like the one big knock on San Francisco's defense. And obviously, Michael Wilson goes for 185 yards, and you got to think Wilson and McBride combined for 25 receptions and like 200 and what is that, 10 yards against San Francisco today. Not ideal, but I think the box score is really skewed. Like Brissett threw for 452 yards. Did it feel like that? No. A lot of garbage time yards, a lot of garbage time completions. Like I was telling my friend, I was like, you are complaining about the defense. Fine. But you're looking at the box score and you're saying, Brissett threw for nearly 500 yards and Wilson went off and McBride went off. And oh my God. And I go, yeah, they scored 22 points and still turned the ball over 3 times. Like, yeah, if other quarterbacks and other teams do that against you, it's a problem still. But you think it's a little skewed the other way? It just, I don't know. What San Francisco really needs to avoid those box scores is a pass rush. They didn't have that. But there was some plays. Brissett had some pressure on him from Kalia Davis early and maybe some D. Winters blitzes, but nobody really got home. Keon White probably had one of the better games of the pass rushers. He recovered Upton Stout's forced fumble, but also he batted the ball down at the line of scrimmage earlier in the game too. But San Francisco really needs a pass rush. The Cardinals' offensive line isn't terrible, but they're beatable. I don't know why Clellan Ferrell wasn't active today. Weird. You would think you'd want to have all your edge rushers, which isn't many of them that are actually NFL caliber on the active roster. He signed to the active roster. Why is he inactive? I don't know what that was about. Maybe he was sick. I'm not sure. I didn't see a report on it. But I would assume that's not going to be the case going forward. But I don't know. I did like what I saw from Keon White, though. That dude is an old school style guy. No gloves, rubber pads. And I'm like, you just look ugly when you play. And if this team has to embrace the ugly, then let's do it. And I don't mind that. But yeah, San Francisco got the win today, baby. 41 to 22 over the Arizona Cardinals. They advance and they get their 4th win in division play. They sweep the Cardinals this season. They're going to be at least 4-3 when it's all said and done. 4-3 to 4-2. 4-2 when it's all said and done. 1 division game remaining. They have the best conference record, not just in the NFC, but in the entire NFL. I know they're 7-4 and they're in the thick of things and they really aren't separating themselves from others, but man, oh man. Looking at other teams' schedules, for example, the Niners remaining schedule, which always unfair to look at, but still, they have the Panthers at home, the Browns on the road, the Titans at home, the Colts on the road, and Chicago and the Seahawks at home. You can beat the Panthers. You can beat the Browns. You can beat Tennessee. Chicago is really up and down. They are over-reliant on the comeback victory, which I can see San Francisco giving up, but they're just really inconsistent. I think I picked San Francisco in that game. They're coming back against really bad offenses today. The Vikings had no business being in that game. McCarthy looks like just dog water, hot dog flavored water. He looks terrible. And somehow they came back. The Bears are very beatable. They've been getting lucky. Had a kick return that set them up for a game-winning field goal, and that's how they won the game today. They didn't deserve to win that game by any means, but the Vikings did neither. But San Francisco has 4 winnable games on their schedule left, And week 18 at home against the Seahawks will be a tough game no matter what. Darnold turned into a pumpkin against the Rams, 4 INTs, and Gray Zabel got hurt. Not sure how long he'll be out, but if he's out for a long time or a while, it's a knee injury. I hope he's not willing guys to stay healthy, but that could be a big difference maker in the NFC West chase when it's all said and done. But San Francisco has 4 winnable games. The Bears game I think is winnable, and the Seahawks game is going to be close. And who knows how the Colts look, but that's probably a loss anyways. That said, the Packers have games against Minnesota, at Detroit, against the Bears, at Denver, at Chicago, versus Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's back. They look better. And then at Minnesota. That's a tough schedule. The Packers may not be a playoff team when the season's over. Seattle has at Tennessee, against Minnesota, at Atlanta, versus Indiana, versus the Rams, at Carolina, at San Francisco. The Vikings might play them tough. The Colts will play them tough. The Rams will play them tough. Atlanta is really streaky. They're a bad team, but they just somehow are in games at times. It's odd. The NFL is weird. Parity is great, isn't it? Then San Francisco and the Lions, who lost tonight against the Eagles and are out of the playoffs as we currently speak. They have the Giants, the Packers, and the Cowboys at home. Then it's in LA against the Rams, at home against Pittsburgh, and then all on the road against the Vikings and the Bears to end the season. San Francisco has the easiest schedule of that bunch. Maybe the Seahawks are in there too, but Niners in a really, really, really good place to capitalize on the schedule. And they're healthy. Take advantage of the health. Health is wealth. We have one injury, though, that I'm really worried about. Eddie Pinheiro, who had a PAT missed today and a PAT blocked today. Don't love that. Special teams has been so good for San Francisco this year. And now Eddie Pinheiro, who has been stone cold ice money, may have pulled his hamstring. God, San Francisco might have to get a kicker. I hope it isn't Jake Moody. Pinheiro has meant so much to this year. He's been a big reason San Francisco has won games against the Saints and against the Cardinals and against the Rams and against the Giants. Oh my God. He's been a major factor in these wins. He's made their offense more dangerous. And now you're like, oh my goodness, the offense can finally score some more points. And the kicker might be gone. It was so bad, they were going to have Kyle Juszczyk hold for the field goals and make Thomas Morstead punt or make the kicks as the punter. And so I hope he's okay. I hope they avoided something big. But San Francisco might be in the market for a kicker. Now, you can find guys on the street, and hopefully things will figure themselves out. But you saw games today, man. Lions, the win was bad in Philadelphia, missed some kicks. You saw, Chargers. You saw the Giants. You saw the Packers. Kicking matters so much. We know this firsthand as Niner fans. And so to lose Pinheiro, it definitely is a loss you can't really afford to have, but hopefully Purdy being back on the offense, picking up steam can kind of negate that loss if it is one. Hope he's healthy. Hope Bethune gets back healthy, and hopefully San Francisco kind of avoid some more mistakes and injuries down the road. But they are 7-4 on the year. Big win, 41-22. Drop your comments down below. What did you make of Brock Purdy's performance? Are you on the hype train? We're back, baby. We are on a roll. Let's start steamrolling some suckers and let's go to the playoffs. Or are you saying, let's take a step back, Sterling? I don't buy into the Brock Purdy train. I'm not on the bandwagon for at least this year just yet. Or are you saying go back to Mac Jones? What are you thinking? What'd you make of the day? Are you still concerned about the toe? Did you see some of the lingering effects of it like I did? What did you make of Christian McCaffrey's 3-touchdown day? He's setting records every single week, and George Kittle obviously breaking records every single week. Now has 50 career touchdowns and is one of 3 Niner players. 500 receptions and 50 touchdown receptions with Jerry Rice and T.O. What would you make of the defense? And drop those comments. What did you take away from San Francisco's 41-22 win over the Arizona Cardinals. Don't forget to follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the extra Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram, and use that promo code 49ers access 49 ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com and watch your Niners live in person. They're going to score some points. It's going to be hot, hot, hot tamale. You're not going to want to miss it. But as always, my name is Sterling Bennett. And until next time, San Francisco 7-4 and right now holding the 7th seed in the NFC wild card hunt. Stay faithful.